we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. see the horizon, turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands.
In this course, you will learn how to build a weather application using React and the Open Weather API with locations that autocomplete. You will learn how to use two APIs to get and display the weather for anywhere in the world. Slobodan teaches this course. He is a senior front-end developer and experienced course creator. Make sure to leave a comment with something you learn in this course.
Let's jump right in. Let me share my screen. Okay, first, I want to explain where you can get the API keys for both of these APIs and what you need to install, what you need to register first for. Because on my previous tutorials, there were a couple of APIs tutorials where you guys were struggling to find API keys. So the first one that we want to use is on the Rapid API website. The links will be in the description, so don't worry about that. You need to create an account here on this website and go to this specific API. The link is going to be in the description again, and you need to subscribe to this API in order to test it. Once you subscribe to it, you can choose what you want to test. So you can click on the cities because we will need the cities for our weather application. Then you can choose what code you want to be generated for you. I choose JavaScript and fetch. So you get the fetch method here, and you get the options, parameters which are required. So the first one is the key, and here you get the generated key, which is for your account and the host. And then the full URL and how you retrieve and map the data. So it's really useful. Here are all the parameters that you can use, optional ones and the required ones. So yeah, it's very useful. So this is the first API. The second one is the actual weather API. So you need to go open weather website, link again in the description. You need to sign up here. Everything is free. You don't have to pay for anything. So just go to your account. You can click on your account here, and you can go to my services to check what APIs you have available for free. And you can go and open API keys, and here you can get your API key. Please register for your account. Don't use mine. Probably I'm gonna blur this anyways, but yeah, you should use your API key. Now we can go and create our application. So these are the things that you need to do beforehand. So I open up the D drive, and here I'm going to create our React application. So run the command npx create React app and name of the application. Let's name it React Weather App. Weather App. And this is going to take a couple of minutes to finish. So stay around with me. And finally, our application has been installed and created, so we can open that in your editor of choice. For me, it's Visual Studio Code. It's on drive D, dev folder, React Weather App. That one, select folder. First, I want to install two packages that we'll need in order to create this application. The first one is the accordion that we need for the day's forecast. So npm install React accessible accordion. That's the name of it. Okay, added one package. There are some warnings, but you can ignore that. The second one is npm install React select async paginate. This one has some warning issues, compatibility issues actually, because it's optimized for the older version of React. It's going to be updated eventually. I tried this library; it works as expected. So, but don't worry if you get the warnings, and you will most likely if you're installing this on new versions of React. Just use the force flag in order to be able to install it. But don't worry, yeah. You can use other. This is like a wrapper library for React select package. It gives you some additional options, so that's why I'm using this. And that's it. Now we can npm run start and start our application. Okay. It starts the development server. Localhost 3000. And we have our application up and running. That's nice. Okay. So the first thing is first, to explain you what we are going to have on this website, on these applications. We will have three components. The first one is going to be search on very top, and we'll have two widgets. One is for the current weather, and the second one, or the third one, is for the forecast. So let's create a new folder here, new folder, and name it components. Components, cool. And the first one, let's build the search. New folder, call it search. Okay. And in the search, let's add new file search.js. Okay. So this is going to be a component that is going to be using the async paginate package that we just installed. Okay. So create const search, and let's just create a dummy component to integrate it. So return hello and export default search. Okay. And we can use this component inside of our app.js component. Let's remove this boilerplate code. And we need to import our search component. Let's remove the logo. So import search component here. Okay. And we have our hello. Okay, nice. So I want to add some of the global styles to our application. So let's create a container here for the class name. Container, and I just want to add some maximum width, so it's not full width of the window. So I can go to app.css, remove all this boilerplate code, and just add the container. Container, and add max width of 1080. And add a margin so it's centered. So margin is 20 pixels and auto. So top and bottom 20 pixels, left and right auto, so it centers the container. Okay, nice. Now I want to add a couple of global files, so global styles, so that we don't have to worry about that later. So for the font family, I want to remove this default one, and let's add Roboto, and as a fallback Arial, and set that as important. Also, I want to add a background color. I don't like the white one, so use the D5, D4, D4. Yes, that's the one. Let's just preview that. Nice. Okay. This looks like it's cloudy. Okay, so we can proceed to build our search component. So let's close the app, index, everything. So inside of this search, let's import the only component that we're going to use, which is async paginate. So async paginate, this is the name of the component. And this component is going to have a couple of parameters. So first one, let's put the placeholder. And the placeholder is going to be search for city, because we want to search for cities to display the weather for it. Now, the second parameter is the bounce time. We don't want to fetch the API and call the backend every time that we press the key. So we want, but we don't. If somebody's pressing very fast, it's gonna send a bunch of requests. So here we are adding some debounce for 600 milliseconds. Then for the value, we're gonna add search, but we will create the search variable using useStateHook. So const search and set search. This is for updating that variable. Set search, okay. And we will use useStateHook for it, okay. And the initial state of this variable is going to be null, okay. Then on change method, we want to update this value, and we want to emit that to the parent, to the app.js, where we will fetch, the weather data and pass that to other two widgets. So on change, we'll call handle on change. Okay, let's create that one. Okay, const handle on change. This will retrieve search data, the data that we entered into async paginate component. And what we want to do, this is going to be very simple. We will use the set search method to update our search, and we will use search data for it. And then we will have the event, the function actually, which is passed from the parent component. Let's call it on search change, and we will just call that and pass the data that we got from the input. Okay, cool. Now what we need to do is we need to go and to add that event. So go to app.js, and on the search, add the on search change and add the handle on search change. Okay, so this can be static right now, so we can implement that later. So just add const handle on search change, and it will receive search data. It needs to be fed arrow function, okay. And we can just console log that for now, okay. Search data, okay, cool. We can continue implementing the things that, yeah. So as you can see, we have built already this autocomplete search, but it doesn't work because we haven't implemented anything yet. So what we need to do is when we start searching, we need to fetch the data, and how we can do that is we first. Okay, so how we do that is let me see. We need to call the method for loading the options. So here we have an additional load options property, and because we are adding, because we are loading the properties for the input through async requests. So we don't have anything downloaded previously, and when we type in some characters, like for example, we are searching for London, we type in Lond, and then it's searching this API to find all the cities with that prefix. So we need to code that. So the name of the method is going to be load options, and now let's create it. Const, the name of the method is load options, and this one it will retrieve the input value. So this is the value that we are typing into the input, and we will use that value to pass into the fetch method, to the URL, and to get the data. Okay. So this is the API that we use to search the cities. So here what we can do is we can go and copy all this code and paste into our application. But let's create an additional file for this. We don't want to store it inside of the search component, so let's place it in the source folder, new file, and call it api.js, like so. Okay. So what we can do is we can just copy the options and the fetch method, and we will extract the URL. So inside of the API, let's export the options and call the options as geo API options. So what is inside of these options is the method that we use for the fetch. And like I said, in the headers, there's a key and a host. So the key is the one that you need to get into your account, and the host is same for this API for everybody. Now what we can do is we can create a constant, export const geo API URL, and use this one. Geo, and paste it here. Okay. Now we can use this fetch. We can save this file, go to search, and now we can use that to fetch. So what we need to do is we need to return new fetch, and we can import now the URL. So this URL, and we can import the Geo API options. So import from API. Okay, from API, and we need to import URL and Geo API options. So these are the parameters that we need to pass into the fetch method. Okay, so here I can add the backticks, so it's easier to implement the variables. So first is the API URL, then we use cities, and then what I want to do is if you go to the API itself, and if you check the parameters, you have the min population parameter, which is optional, but with this parameter we can limit and filter out the small places. If you're gonna search for bigger cities, you can enter like 1 million people in the city, and it will give us much better search. So that's something which I want to do. So set the min population to 1 million users, not users, million population. Okay, and then we want to add a name prefix. So for this one, we want to enter whatever we get from this search change. So okay, actually from this input value. Let me format document so it's nice and okay. So that's it. Cities, we get the min population, the name prefix. Okay, and once we get the fetch, then we want to map our response to the JSON, because we get the we don't get the mapped when we're using fetch. We don't get mapped right away using the JSON, and then we're just logging out the response, and we can see what we get. Later on, we can map this to match the format that we need for the async paginate component. So let's test it out. If I open up our app, okay, let's see, option is not defined. Yes, because we haven't implemented the options here. Okay, these are the options. Again, these are the options for the fetch method. Cool. And now if I open up the console, okay, if I type in Belgrade, let's say, we get the data, but we also get some errors. Let me just see one at a time. So we get the data, the actual data. Yeah. Okay, this is the initial data. Let me see what is the error. Load option should be an object with an options prop. Okay, yeah. The issue with this is that we are not providing the correct format to this input. So that's why it's giving the error, and it's giving us this loader. But if I check the network, I can see that the fetch is actually successful. So we fetched, let me see the headers. In the headers, we said this is the URL prefix is Belgrade, and for the preview, if I open the data, we got 2 results, and the first one is Belgrade, Serbia, and the second one is Belgrade district. So it works, but the format for this input is not correct. So let us fix that. The format that it requires is an object array of objects with value and label properties. So inside of the second, then we can format that. So return an object which actually has an options parameter, and this options parameter needs to have an array of objects. So we will use response.data, and we can map that. Okay, we don't need semicolon. So what we get here is name of the location or city, however you want to call it, city. And then we will return an object. Here we will have a value and a label. And for the value, what we need latitude and longitude in order to implement the weather API. Let me show you. So if I go to the services and for the APIs, let me just show you what is the required. For the current weather, let's say, if we check the API call, we need to pass in the API key, the one that we got when we registered, and we need to pass the latitude and longitude. So these 2 parameters we get from the Geo API. So that's why we need to store, let me close that. So that's why we need to store the value of latitude and longitude. And we get that if I open up the console, again, if I open up the network tab, again, let's type in Belgrade. Let me open up, you have exceeded the limit per second, okay. I have basic plans, so you need sometimes to type in slower. Belgrade, let's type in again. Okay, let me refresh. Now let me open up the network. Okay, now we got it. Because I'm on free plan, so it's limited. You cannot send unlimited number of requests per minute. But if we open up this data, we can see that latitude and longitude, we have these parameters. So let's copy them. So for the value, we can use backticks, and we will use city dot latitude and add a space, and the second one is city dot longitude. It's hard to pronounce for me. Okay, so, and later on we can extract this from this value, and the label is something that the user can see, or whoever is using the application. So again, use the backticks and use the city. Let's use the city dot, we can use the name of the city, so here Belgrade, and the country code. city dot name, comma, city dot country code. Okay. Let me see, and that should be now correct format. Let me format the document. Okay, let's try now. Let me clear the console. If I type in Belgrade, it's searching. Let me refresh again. And as you can see, finally we get the name of the city and the code of the country. So if we select that, we have selected the first value, and as you can see in our code, we are calling the onChange. We are calling the handle onChange. We are passing the data. We are setting the new value, and then we are calling the onSearchChange, which has been passed from the app.js file, and that method is just logging out the value that we're getting here. So that's pretty much what we wanted to get from the search, just to get the latitude and longitude from the cities that we want. Now we can create new component, and the first one can be the current weather. So we'll have, like I said, two components, two widgets. The first one is going to show the current weather, and the second one is going to show the forecast for 7 days if available. So let's create new component. So add new folder, name it current dash weather. Okay, cool. And then add a new file, current weather.js. And we'll have a style file here as well, new file, current weather.css. Okay. Now let's import the style first. Import current weather.css. Okay. And let's create a dummy component so that we can integrate that into import that inside of the app.js file and start building. So const current weather equals weather function, and then just export. We need to return something here. Return just hello, and then export default. Export default current weather. Okay, now we can import that in the app.js file. Import current weather from the components current weather, and then just place that component in the return. Okay, so we should get a hello. Yes, here it is. So here we will use a little bit of CSS in order to style this nicely, but stick around with me. If you hate styling, you probably shouldn't be doing a front end. So yeah, there's going to be a little bit more of CSS. So let's remove hello. So this is basically going to be like a box, small box, and it will just display the details for the current weather. So let's add a div, which is going to be a wrapper, and add a class name of weather. Okay. And here we'll have two sections. The first one with the temperature, and the second one, the bottom one, with other details. So add a div on top, and that one will have class name exactly like that, top. Okay. So here on top you will have two paragraphs actually. Two paragraphs. The first one you'll have the name of the city. Let's call it. Let's build now static, and then we can implement the API. Belgrade and description sunny, and let's add the classes as well. So let's add the class name for city and a class name for weather description. Okay. And then on the right side we will have an image that will represent what is the weather like. So it's nice, and it has nice graphical representation. So let's place an image and let's add an alt. Weather, you need to be careful about the accessibility. Add a class name of weather icon, and for the source, we need actually. I have downloaded icons for this Open Weather API, and this will be available in the folder along with on GitHub with the complete code base, so you can download there and follow along with me. So, and this needs to be included into the public folder, so let me do that. So for me, that's in downloads. Let me show you, it's in downloads. So I will copy this folder and go to the public folder, open that in File Explorer, and just paste. So this folder contains all the states that we have for the weather. So it will be available in the GitHub repository, so you can download and use these exactly the same ones. But you can use different ones as long as you follow the naming convention here. You know, when it's sunny, it's 01d.png and so on. So we can use that one for a static one. Okay, so the source is icons slash 01d.png. Okay, let me see. And yes, we got that. Cool. And I think that's it. So we have the name of the city, description, we have the weather. Yeah, now let's apply some styles to it. So let me close all others. And let me open up the CSS. So the first one, let's add some styles to the weather. This is a wrapper. So let me just make sure it's spelled correctly. Okay, so add a width of 300 pixels. And let me just see if it's connected properly. I always like to, to make sure that everything works correctly before I get too far into developing, right? Border radius, set the border radius to 6 pixels. So this should be a nice dark box. So set the box, let's add a little bit of box shadow. So set 10 pixels. These are the parameters for the box shadow. -2 pixels, 20 pixels. Set here the 2 pixels, and set the RGB. We want it to be transparent black. So 0, 0, 0, and 30%. This is a standard value for the box shadow. And you can see it adds a little bit of separation. Add a color. This is going to be a dark box, so add a color which is white. And the background color 333. Okay, nice. Let's add a little bit of margin, so it's centered. Margin 20 pixels on top, so it's separated from the input. And auto on the right side, 0 on the bottom, and the auto on the left side. Yeah, so now it's on the center of the page. Okay. Now let's style the top of the well, let me just see if this top actually image needs to be inside of the top. So yeah, okay. And we need to have a div around the paragraphs because I want to use the flags box in order to align them. So use a div, or you can use a span, whatever you want. Okay, let's format the document. Cool. Okay, so for top, I want to display that as flex. Display flex, justify content, space between, so they are on the edges, and align them in center. Line center. Okay. Okay, nice. We'll add a little bit of padding here on the weather, so it's not like that. So add a padding. 0 on top, 20 pixels, 20 pixels and 20 pixels. Okay. That's more like it. Okay. Now let's style the city. That's the name of the class. City. So for the city, let's leave it white. Everything should be white on this dark background. So font weight 600, so it's bold. Font size 18 pixels. Line height, set it to 1, so it's really close to the bottom description. And margin reset to 0, so it's one next to each other. Letter spacing, set the letter spacing to 1 pixel. Okay. Let's see the result. Okay, that's nice. Now for the description, let me copy paste the class name. Okay, now set the font weight here to be a little bit slimmer, so 400. Font size, this should be smaller, 14 pixels. 40 pixels. Line height to be 1, same as the city. And for the margin, again, reset it to 0, so there is no space on top or the bottom. Okay, so they are next to each other. Okay. Now let's style the weather icon. We just need to set the height, the size here. So set the width to be 100 pixels. 100 pixels. And yeah, that should do it. Okay, let's now continue on building. So let's build now. So this is the top part. Let's build the bottom part. Bottom, actually, add a class name of bottom. And here, add a paragraph with a class name of temperature. So this one will be showing the actual temperature. So 18 degrees of Celsius. So I don't know how to write degrees. So degree Celsius. Celsius. So let me just Google that and copy paste. Okay, I can copy the symbol here. Okay, nice. Temperature. Then below the temperature, next to the temperature, on the left side is going to be temperature, on the right side is there are going to be details. So add a div with a class name of details, and here let's add a div, and we will have rows. So we will have a label and then the value. So add a class name of parameter row, and inside of the row we will have label, and then we'll have value. So for the first one, the very top one, we will just have the label. So span class name parameter label, parameter dash label, and here we will say details. Then create another row. In the second row, for the label, I'm gonna create fields like, and for the fields like, we want to add a value to it. So parameter label, and the second one is parameter value. And the fields like could be anything like 22 degrees of Celsius. So let's copy this, because I don't know how you write this character. Okay, let me preview that. Okay, nice. Feels like we need we will actually separate this. This will be styled using the flags, so it will be separate. Right now it looks like it needs spacing, so but let's leave it until we use the CSS to fix this. So now we will just copy paste this exact row and add additional fields. So what I want to display next, so I want to display basically almost all the fields that are necessary that we have available on the Open Weather API. So add a wind, and wind can be anything, I don't know. 2 meters per second. Then add another one, the humidity. Humidity goes in percentages, so I don't know, 15%. Add another row, and for this one, let's add a pressure. Pressure, add a value. It goes in pascals, I think. Yeah. Now what we want to do is we want to style this. So let me just see what we have. Yeah, this looks solid, but we need to style it to look much more nicer. Okay. Okay, so let me first, before I proceed, format the document. I like everything to be nice and nicely formatted. Okay, so here, the first one is the, actually, I think we can use the bottom one. Sorry. I think we can use the bottom styling to apply that to top styling to apply that to bottom as well, because I want it also to be display flags to justify content space between and to line them centrally. So yeah, and as you can see, it looks better. So I just want to make this much bigger and this a little bit smaller and separated. So let's do that. Okay, the first one is temperature. Temperature, so set the font weight to be bolder, 600, font size to be really large, so 7, not 700, 7, width to be auto. Okay, letter spacing -5 pixels, I want this to be really dense, and margin 10 pixels on top and bottom, and the left, right to be 0. And this is very noticeable, so that's something that you want. The first thing that everybody who is looking for the temperature details is looking for temperature. That's the most important thing, so that's why it's the largest here, and it's most noticeable. Okay, so for the details, I think, yeah, it's named details. Set the width to be 100%, so to take the rest of the space and add a little bit of padding to the left side to 20 pixels. Okay, nice. Now let's style the rows. So the class name is parameter row. So we want to display that as well, flex, and to justify content space between, so that we have separation between the labels and the values, like that. Okay. Now let's style the labels and the values. Parameter label. And for the label, align them to left. Font weight to 400, this is a default. Just reset that, and font size to be a little bit smaller to 12 pixels. Okay. That's much more nicer. Then for the parameter value, okay, align them to right. Right, okay. Font weight, this needs to be a little bit bolder, so it's more noticeable, the value. And the font size to 12 pixels. Okay. That's nice. And the last thing is, which I want to do is, I want to add a little border on the details. So on the top one. So what I can do is I can go to details and top, add a class here for this one, save that, and then what I can do is I can go and add a border bottom too. What is the name of it? parameter label, okay, parameter label dot top and border bottom, so it's separated, 1 pixel solid white. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I mean, we can remove it, we can leave it however we want it, but maybe I don't like it, so let's remove that. Let's remove the top. I think without the border is much nicer, like so. Okay, so now we have static current weather widget. Now what we want to do is we want to implement the real data, and once we select something from this input search, we want to see that. So let's do that. So what we want to do is we want to go into app.js file and on the app.js file and start searching here for the data that we have. So what we need to do first is we need to use the search data. If you check the console, let me see. If you check the console, we get the object, and here we get the label and we get the value. So we need to split the value and get the we need to get these two values in order to search. This is the location value. Yes, latitude and longitude. So what we can do is we can search data dot value, and we can split that. So split that with the space character and store that in two variables. The first one is, let me see what we are storing. The first one is the latitude and the second one is the longitude. So first one is going to be a latitude and second one longitude. Okay, so now we have the values for the location and we need to fetch it. So let's check the API to see what is the URL. So we need to go to Open Weather API. We can go to the current weather and we can just copy the URL. Let me open the app here. So because we are gonna fetch the two API calls. The first one is going to be for the current weather and the second one is going to be for the forecast. We're gonna use the promise all in order to fetch the both of these. So how we're gonna do that? So let's create just two fetches and store them into variables and pass that to the array of the promise at all. So first one called the current weather fetch and use the fetch method. And here we need to pass the URL that we just created. So, but I think the smarter thing would be to create constant in our folder for the API and export this. So go to API and export const weather API URL. Okay, and we will need key as well, so let's go take the key, go to my API keys and take the key. So export const weather API key. Okay, nice. You can save that, and now we can use here. So we need to import that first on top. Import the API URL from API. Oh, let me just see. Oh, actually, it's in the same folder, so it's from API. Okay, and we need to import the API key. API key here. Okay. And then instead of this API key, we can replace and put our API key. Weather API key. And then instead of this latitude, we can put our actual variables that we got, latitude and longitude, and that should form our fetch. So first we have the base URL, then we have the weather, then we have latitude, longitude, and the app ID. Actually, this is a shorthand for app ID, and that's the first fetch. The second one needs to be for the forecast, so let's go and take that one. So let me open up my plans, and the second one is the forecast, and we can take API call here as well. We can close this, we don't need that anymore. And okay, let me see, and I can paste it here. I can use this one to create another variable, and this one is going to be for forecast fetch, and we are fetching the same URL. Different is that we are using forecast now instead of the weather. Everything else is the same. Okay, and now what we can do is we can use promise.all and pass an array of these two. So let's pass the first current weather. The order is important here because in order that we are sending the promises, the return is going to be in that same order because we are going to get back the array as well. And the second one is going to be a forecast fetch. And then inside of then we need to call async function. We will get response. Here we need to map what we're getting, and we will get in the first one we will get response 0.json. We need to call the JSON method in order to map the response. So we need to use await and store it inside of the variable. So use weather response name of the constant, and we can copy paste that to create a second one, but we will use the second or the index one, and for that one is going to be forecast response. Okay, that's cool. Now what I want to do is I want to create two hooks to store these two. So create a hook named current weather. Okay, I see that I have a typo. Current weather fetch. It needs to be fetch and current weather fetch here. Okay, this is the right one. Okay, so current weather and the set current weather. Set current weather. This is the first hook. Use state hook. Okay, and that imports the use state. Let me see. Yeah, it imported here, and the value, the initial value is going to be null. And let's copy paste that. The second one is going to be the forecast, and the method for updating that variable is going to be set forecast. Okay. Now what we can do is we can update once we get the responses, and once they are mapped to a JSON, we can update them. So set current weather. Set current weather to the weather response. Okay. And set the forecast to the forecast response. The only thing which I want to add, I want to extend the data that we're sending and saving here, because the data that we're getting from the API doesn't contain the label that we're displaying here, like Abu Dhabi AE. So we are just getting like the city, the country, sorry. So, but I want to display it exactly the same as it's here. So in order to do that, we can use the information that we got from Geo API database. So and extend our objects to pass that. So what we can do is we can just add a city parameter and use the search data dot label, and this label is coming from this search here. So here we are creating this label where we add a city name and city country code. Actually, country code, not city country code, but country code, code of the country. So let's extend it like so, and here just let me use the spread operator to create a new object from these two. And now we have the city for both of these. Okay. And we want to, at the end, if this fails, we want to catch, and we want to console log. Okay, and that's it. In order to test if this works, let's just log these two variables to see do we get the information that we need. So we need to get the current weather and the forecast. Console.log current weather and console.log forecast. Okay, and let's go and search. Okay, for now it's null. Let me refresh. Okay, let's type in again Belgrade. Let's select Belgrade, and as you can see, we get back. The first one is from the line 28, which is the current weather. So we get the current weather. As you can see, we get all these fields like humidity, temperature, and all that. And the second one contains the list, which is the forecast for the future days. So it works correctly. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to pass the data to our current weather and then display that instead of this dummy data. Okay. So here we can add data and pass in for the current weather is going to be this current weather variable. And we can check if that exists, then show the widget. If it doesn't exist, don't show anything. So that we are sure that if we are inside of the component, that we don't have any errors. So we can do this like this. Data. Like so. You can save this, and now we should go and replace the things that we have there. So, okay, let me just format the document before I proceed. And yeah, now we can work. So let's first do the top part. Okay. For the top part, we actually are adding this city label, which could be a location, but yeah. So call it data.city. And for the weather description, let's check the API. We can check the network as well. Oh no, actually, network has been cleaned off. So for the description, let me see. It's inside of the weather, 0, and description, broken clouds. Okay, that's the current weather here. So go to data.weather 0.description. Okay, let's save that up. And let's see, we have broken clouds, even though the image is not changed yet. So let's change that as well. So we get the icon, as you can see here, which we can use to load the image. So here, let's add the expression. Let's add the backticks. Remove the double quotes. And then instead of this name, we want to have this dynamic. And this is going to be data. Same as here, just the last property is going to be icon. Yeah. And now, as you can see, we get the cloud as well. So if we type a different city like London, okay, it took some time to, you can see that actually London is the same weather as well. So let's see Miami. It's nicer there, so yeah, cool. So yeah, let's back to Belgrade. Let's implement the rest of the properties. So that completes the top part. Now we go to details. So open up the bottom part. Okay.